Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Healing Step session. I'm Janine Naus, your grief and trauma relief specialist, and I want to begin by saying how grateful I am that you've chosen to spend this time with me. Now, if you're here live, please type pound live in the comments so I can see who's with me. And if you're catching the replay, type pound replay. I always love coming back to read your reflections. So before we dive in, I'd like to take a moment to notice what it took for you to show up today. You might even ask yourself, what part of me needed this? And if you'd like, share a word in the comments about how you're arriving, whether it's tired, hopeful, or simply present. Every response is welcome. So today we're going to talk about something that runs deep for many trauma survivors. It's growing up in families where you never really felt seen, safe, or fully accepted. Families where you may have carried labels, roles, or even blame that didn't belong to you. Families where your uniqueness was misunderstood, dismissed, or even punished. Maybe you were the one who was called too sensitive. Maybe you were blamed when things went wrong, even when it had nothing to do with you. Or maybe you were simply ignored, your needs and feelings invisible in the swirl of family chaos. Can you relate to any of those? If so, you're not alone, and you're in the right place. If you've ever felt like the outsider in you, in your family, in your own family, if you've ever carried the weight of being the one who didn't fit into the mold everyone else seemed to follow, then this conversation is for you. Because here's the truth. I want you to hear right at the start. Your family's inability to recognize or honor your worth was never a reflection of you. It was a reflection of their own unhealed wounds. And while it may have left you feeling unwanted, unworthy, or not enough, what if I told you that those very experiences hold the seeds of your greatest strength? Today's session is about shifting perspective. We're going to talk about how survivors of difficult families often carry the role of the scapegoat, the one who absorbs blame, the one who reflects truths no one else wants to see. But we're also going to talk about how that painful role can transform into something powerful, becoming the cycle breaker, the one who refuses to carry dysfunction forward, the one who chooses healing instead of harm, the one who inspires change, first in yourself and maybe for generations after you. So, as we move into the season or the session, I invite you to take a deep breath, place your hand over your heart if that feels safe, and just notice the part of you that showed up today, the part that is ready to be seen, supported, and maybe even inspired. If it feels right, you can share in the comments, I'm here and ready. Just that simple phrase can be a first step in honoring your presence. Because this isn't just about surviving your family story, it's about rewriting it. And it begins right here. With that, let's step into our first teaching point. Disconnection from belonging starts early. Now, when we think about family, most of us imagine a place of safety and belonging, where love is unconditional and being yourself is enough. But for many trauma survivors, the reality is much more complicated. Instead of belonging, you may have felt out of place. Instead of acceptance, you may have experienced judgment or rejection. Instead of being nurtured, you may have been told directly or indirectly that you were too much or not enough. Can you relate to any of those early experiences? If so, you might type a word in the comments, such as unseen, misunderstood, different, whatever resonates. And if sharing feels like too much, simply noticing what rises up inside is more than enough. And when this happens early in life, something powerful takes root, the belief that you don't truly belong anywhere. I want you to really hear this. That disconnection you may feel today didn't begin in adulthood. It often began in childhood, in those quiet, everyday moments when your needs weren't met, your emotions weren't welcome, or your uniqueness wasn't celebrated. Maybe you remember the ache of being left out. Maybe you were criticized for being different. Or maybe the absence of support was so normal that you didn't even realize you were longing for it until much later. Now, if this speaks to you, just place a hand over your heart for a moment. See, sometimes acknowledging, yes, that was me, can be the beginning of healing. When a child doesn't feel safe to attach, when they can't trust that love will be consistent, that care will be steady, they adapt. And they may become the pleaser, always working for acceptance. They may become the invisible one, fading into the background to avoid rejection. Or they may become the truth teller, the scapegoat, carrying the weight of what others don't want to face. Now, these adaptations help you survive, but over time, they also create disconnection. They whisper painful messages into your heart. You're unwanted. You don't belong. You're alone. And here's where the trauma piece becomes clear. It's not just about what happened to you, it's about what you came to believe about yourself because of what happened. That's the deepest wound. But, and this is important, those early messages don't define you. They shaped you, yes, but they don't have to be the end of your story. And that brings us to our next teaching point. Because while disconnection begins early, the hidden cost of carrying the label unwanted follows you into adulthood in ways you may not even realize. So when the message of you don't belong or you're unwanted gets planted early, it doesn't just stay in childhood, it grows with you. And here's the hard truth. See, many survivors don't even realize how much it costs them because it feels like the only way they've ever known how to live. That message of being unwanted can shape everything from the way you see yourself, the choices you make, the relationships you stay in or walk away from, and even how much joy you allow yourself to feel. Think about it for a moment. If deep down you carry the belief that you don't belong, you might find yourself constantly trying to earn your place in friendships, in family, at work. You might overgive, overperform, or overplease, hoping that if you just do enough, someone will finally say, "You're wanted, you matter." Have you ever noticed yourself working extra hard for love or recognition, even when part of you felt it should have been given freely? If that resonates, you can simply type yes in the comments or just notice quietly within yourself. And yet, no matter how much you give, that old wound keeps whispering, not enough, not really, not you. On the other side, some survivors respond by pulling away, by deciding it's safer not to need anyone at all. And if you felt unwanted long enough, you may start to convince yourself I'm fine alone. I don't need connection. I don't need closeness. But deep down inside, there's still a longing that aches when you see others laughing together, supporting one another, belonging in ways that feel out of reach for you. That's the hidden cost. It's not just the pain of the original wound, it's the way that wound continues to echo throughout your adult life. It may keep you from fully trusting love, and it may cause you to question every compliment, every gesture of care. It may silence your voice in moments when you most need to speak up. And perhaps most painfully, it can rob you of your own sense of self-worth. If you're willing, take a breath right now and gently ask yourself, where do I still see this old message showing up in my life, especially today? You don't have to share it out loud. Just noticing it for yourself is an act of healing, because when the message of unwanted has lived inside you long enough, it can begin to feel like your identity. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to. That message was never yours to carry. It was given to you by people who couldn't see your worth, not because you didn't have it, but because they couldn't access their own. And that's where we begin to reclaim power. Because once you recognize the cost of carrying unwanted, you're ready for the next step to see what becomes possible when you begin rewriting that message. That's what we'll explore in our next teaching point. So far, we've looked at how disconnection from belonging starts early and how the message of being unwanted carries hidden costs into adulthood. But here's where your story doesn't have to end, because what was written in your heart by others can be rewritten by you. This isn't about pretending the pain never happened. It's not about forcing yourself to feel worthy overnight. It's about beginning a gentle, courageous process of reclaiming what was always yours, the truth you are wanted, worthy, and deeply needed in this world. Think about it this way. The people who couldn't see your worth didn't take it away. They only convinced you to question it. Your worth has been here all along, waiting for you to remember. Now, can you pause and notice what it feels like, even for a moment, to imagine your worth has never left you? You don't have to share it unless you want to, but if something stirred inside of you, you can type a word like yes in the comments, or simply place your hand on your heart to acknowledge it quietly. Rewriting the message starts with noticing the old one, and it might sound like, I don't matter, or no one will ever choose me, or even, I have to prove myself to belong. But once you notice those whispers, you get to ask, whose voice is that really? Is, is it the voice of a parent who couldn't love you the way you needed? The voice of peers who pushed you aside? The voice of a culture that never made room for your full humanity? If you're willing, take a moment now. Whose voice have you been carrying that was never really yours? You don't have to answer it out loud. Just simply naming it for yourself is an act of healing. And if it isn't yours, you don't have to keep carrying it. This is where the cycle breaks. One of the most powerful steps in rewriting the message is to begin planting new truths, even if at first they feel shaky. So truths like, I am worthy of belonging, or I am not too much, and I'm not enough, or my existence matters without condition. You don't have to believe them fully yet. You only need to practice offering them to yourself little by little, until they begin to take root. See, sometimes that begins with finding spaces and people who mirror those truths back to you. Safe relationships where you're not the scapegoat, not the outsider, but valued for exactly who you are. Other times it begins privately through journaling, meditation, or practices where you give yourself the words you most needed to hear. Because here's the shift. Belonging doesn't start when someone else chooses you. It begins when you choose yourself. And when you begin to live from that choice, from that place of self-worth, the ripple effect is powerful. You stop overperforming for approval. You begin creating boundaries that honor your heart. You allow people into your life who reflect back your inherent value. And you step into the role of cycle breaker, the one who transforms old wounds into a new story of worth and belonging. And that's the heart of this healing journey. Not to erase your past, but to reclaim your present. Not to deny the wound, but to grow stronger through it. Because you are not just the product of your family's story, you are the author of your own. And in just a moment, I want to guide you into a simple practice, a reflection that can help you begin rewriting that message in real time. Now, I want to invite you into a simple reflection. You don't need to share it unless you want to. This is for you. So take a deep breath and then place your hand over your heart if that feels safe. Now think of one message you've carried that isn't truly yours. Maybe it's I'm unwanted, I don't matter, or I'll never be enough. Gently say to yourself, whose voice is this really? And then once you've named it, release it. Imagine setting it down, like putting down a heavy bag that was never meant to be yours. Now replace it with a new truth, even if it feels small or shaky at first. Something like, I am worthy, I belong, my existence matters. If you'd like, type one word in the comments that represents the truth you want to begin practicing, or just hold it quietly in your heart, because every time you notice the old message and choose a new one, you're rewriting your story. So as we close today, I want to leave you with this truth. You were never meant to carry the weight of being the scapegoat. That role was given to you by a system that couldn't face its own wounds. But what others projected onto you does not define you. You have the power to step out of that role. You have the power to rewrite the message, and you have the power to reclaim your worth. Healing is not about erasing what happened. It's about transforming what it means. It's about finding safety inside yourself, creating boundaries that protect your heart, and learning that you are allowed to take up space. And when you begin living from that truth, you become more than a survivor. You become a cycle breaker. You become an inspiration for what's possible when pain no longer has the final word. I want you to know you don't have to walk this journey alone. So if today's session stirred something inside of you, if you felt seen in the words, or if you're tired of carrying the pressure of holding it all together while still feeling unseen or unwanted, I invite you to take the next step with me. I offer a free 30-minute healing clarity session. Now, it's a safe, heart-centered conversation where we explore one place you feel stuck, and I'll give you a compassionate tool or insight you can begin using right away. There's no pressure, only a space for you to feel supported and to experience what healing could look like for you. And you'll find the link in the comments below or the description of this video. Because you are not unwanted. You are not invisible. You are worthy of healing, and you are capable of breaking cycles, not by being perfect, but by being true to yourself. I want to thank you for being here with me today, and I look forward to seeing you in our next Healing Step session. Until then, be gentle with yourself, and remember, your worth is not up for debate. It's your birthright.